entertain you.
Push record. And then we'll record.
We're recording.
Oh, I'm going to have to turn this. Okay. Success.
We're having technical fun times.
I broke a microphone arm and then couldn't make this one stop crackling. It's, podcasting in the Link Studio is amazing because when you break an arm, the person comes in here, a microphone arm, they come in here and they're like,
it's fine.
That wasn't your fault. Yeah. That's been broken.
We can fix it.
Don't worry about it. Instead of if I was at home and I did that, I'd be like, oh my God, this is going to cost me $8,000 or something. So, welcome to Why Did You Read That? A podcast where I've brought my 4 books for the month-ish, and Megan has brought 4 books for the month-ish.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about those books. But first,
yes,
I'm ready for a joke.
All right. What do you call a bunch of sheep rolling down a hill?
Bavalanche.
Nope. But you're on the right track there.
Okay, I don't know.
A landslide.
Ooh, okay. I liked that one.
Yeah, me too.
It was right in there where I was like on the right track, but I was like, it's not quite right.
It doesn't have that same stamp.
Landslide.
It's a landslide.
Do you feel like I don't eat much lamb really. I just don't come across it.
I don't think I've ever eaten lamb.
Okay.
But I haven't eaten meat in like over 10 years. So.
Is that like not an American thing, or is that like
I think it's a rest of the world thing a lot. I think that some people eat it here.
Yeah.
Like there's a part of my family that eats goose for Christmas, and I think it's a similar thing where like goose is not really a thing.
Yeah.
But for some people it is.
But every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's a sometimes food.
Although lamb chops, I feel like people talk about lamb chops.
That's true. I mean, I've probably had a lamb chop in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as a child or something and whatever, but it's just not something that's in my...
Not in your everyday.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something I've ever purchased.
Yeah.
And now I'm wondering, like, if I go to the store, I guess I could probably buy it, right? Like at King Soopers or whatever.
I feel like maybe.
Yeah. Seems like probably, but I don't know. Well, I just don't know.
Here's a thing for you to look into.
All right. Okay. I think I go first this time.
You are correct, sir.
So, my 4 books for this month. First, I have one called Run for the Hills by Kevin Wilson.
I talked about this already.
Oh, you did?
So it'll be interesting to hear you talk about it. Okay.
Then I've got one called Vermis by an author who goes by the name Plastiboo.
Okay.
I should have, I guess, Run for the Hills is kind of a quirky family drama, funny kind of book.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Wes Anderson movie maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
Vermis by Plastiboo is a video game guide for a video game that does not exist.
Sure.
It's a non-traditional narrative.
You know, the fact that this exists, the only person I would ever expect to know about it is you.
I had to order it from a press in Sweden or something like that.
That tracks.
I ordered this book, and then it was maybe, sometimes you order something online and then, you kind of forget about it. Mm-hmm. And then 6 weeks later, you're like, what the hell is that book that I ordered? What's going on? And that's kind of what happened with this.
And then you track it and it's it's in customs and you're like, oh.
And I was like, oh, I did not realize this was making, an American Tale type of journey across the sea. Next, I have one called Fool Night by Kasumi Yasuda. This is a manga series about a mid-ish dystopian future, dystopian light.
Dystopian leaning.
Yeah. It's a not a terrible future, but there's one problem, which is that the environment is all messed up. And it became a very big problem because no crops could grow, no plants could grow, no trees could grow.
Oh, I think I know about this.
And then they discovered a way to make them grow, which is if they implant a seed in a human body, it will grow. But it has to be in a living person.
Weird.
Yeah. It's pretty weird. It's pretty good, but it's weird.
All right.
And then the last one I have is called, well, it's kind of Back to the Future, but it's stylized as B to the power of F by Ryan North. And this is a book that basically goes through page by page the novelization of the movie Back to the Future. Originally published as a Tumblr blog long, long ago. And then, eventually made its way to ebook form, once they figured out a way to make it like not get destroyed by copyright robots immediately. There you have it.
All right. Well, I want to start with Fool Night. Because this is something I was kind of tangentially aware of.
Okay.
And interested in.
So I'll give you kind of the setup because the setup happens pretty quickly. Okay. So it doesn't really ruin where it goes. Basically, it's in, nearish future. The environment's all messed up or something. And, I don't sweat the details too hard. So what they discovered, though, is they can make plants grow, but the seed has to be planted in a living person. And basically what happens is they'll plant a seed in a person, and the plant sort of slowly takes over their body over the course of like a year and a half or something. So what they do is they accept people into this program that plants seeds in people based on, it's mostly like terminally ill people. So like if I had some kind of, horrible thing and it was like the doctor gave me a year to live, I would be eligible for the program. Usually when they plant the seed in the person, that prevents them from dying from whatever. So like if I had, some kind of disease, it usually they bounce back.
Okay.
But they will be taken over by the plant. They kind of become a plant. And then, by the end of the transformation, they just look like a plant. And, there's no traces of humanity left, really.
Okay. Is there evidence of like consciousness?
Well, that's where it gets interesting.
All right.
And so, during the time between when the seed is planted and when they turn full plant, the other thing is the government then provides them a very lavish lifestyle. Because, you're making a sacrifice for whatever. But they're very careful not to plant seeds in people who aren't terminally ill, basically, because, or, aren't very old or things like that, because they're, I guess
facing
it's
imminent
an
death.
ethical dilemma. And they don't want someone to just do that, to be like, hey, you know what? I'll just live it up for a year or whatever, and then I guess I'll be a plant. But that's kind of what happens in our main character. It's not like living it up. He is struggling to make ends meet, and he has a mom who has sort of unspecified some kind of psychological disorder where she kind of tries to kill him all the time and thinks he's like an intruder in their house and stuff. And she needs some kind of medication that's very expensive. And so he gets in debt. He can't afford the medication. They're going to get kicked out of their house. There's like nothing to be done. So my memory of it, I think he poisons himself basically so that the test will return back and be like, ooh, this guy's doomed. And so they plant a seed in him.
Okay.
But he wasn't actually going to die. So, however, what happens is he has sort of an unusual transformation in that as soon as they plant the seed in him, he starts to be able to kind of hear plants talking. So former humans, current plants. But the way they talk is different. Like it's not like they're speaking in full sentences or whatever. And it seems like they're kind of in and out. And sometimes he can understand and sometimes he can't. it seems easier when the plants are more newly transformed. And as
Mhm.
time goes on, it's harder to understand them. So then this develops into many different situations. He basically gets hired by the agency that makes the plant people because they start having some problems. They're
Who could have predicted?
Yeah. Who would have thought this would go wrong in some way? There are some like situations, like, for example, they uncover that there's a black market for furniture that is made out of wood that is made from children who've been turned into trees. There's something about when a child is turned into the tree, the wood has a different quality. And so there's like a black market for that.
Don't like that.
And then there's like a murderer that is on the loose, but there have been several plant witnesses. So, they're trying to get this guy to be like, get the plants to tell you what's going on, and he's like, it doesn't really work like that. Like sometimes they'll tell me things, but sometimes they just talk about how they're thirsty. Like it's not like talking to a guy that It's like very different. So anyway, it's I enjoy it a lot. It's it gets dark. It takes some pretty dark turns. But it's interesting, and it's like a very different concept.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got like a weird time clock on it, because this guy is also, as he's like talking to the plants and helping people, he's still transforming and like has an inevitable sort
End
of
date.
conclusion.
Yeah.
So I think that ratchets up the tension a little bit too. And, it's fun. It's like a good manga that is like, it's more on the serious side. It's not as jokey as some others.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of fun with it, and I think it's a worth a read.
All right.
And it's also, it feels like one that, is not. Sometimes I read a manga, and I don't mean this as an insult in any way. I'm like, this feels very Japanese. Like there's something about it culturally that maybe isn't in
connecting
my wheelhouse
with you as closely. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like that I'm like, I have to do a little work to understand the emotions or the characters here. And with that, it's like me and my wife tried to watch Love is Blind Japan.
Oh.
And it doesn't work because I'm like, when a Japanese person and they're having a conversation and there's a guy who's like, I don't know, 40 and he's a stand-up comedian. And I'm like, I would know what that meant in America.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would kind of understand that person's place in the social hierarchy and so on. Or like if it's a guy and he's a stand-up comedian and he's 40 and he's talking to a woman who's 27 and runs her own company, I'm like, okay, I think I understand the power dynamics here.
Right.
But in Japan, I don't. Because I'm like, I don't know exactly how those sorts of things work. I don't know.
And how they're perceived. And yeah.
And I was like, there's too much. I need this to be a pop-up video show that is like, explains to me, working an office job as a young man in Japan is a normal expectation, although it comes with these other sort of whatever.
Yeah.
So like, and sometimes when I read a manga, it's like that a little bit. I'm like, there's something I'm missing here because I don't know. And Fool Night feels very accessible in that way. It feels very much like it could be happening anywhere, and it's not so grounded in that. So yeah, I really enjoy it, and it's kind of a good like entry place. Maybe if you've been thinking about dabbling in some manga, but you're like, I don't want something that is going to make me feel silly,
right?
like I don't know anything,
right?
Because I don't know anything.
Well, it's a unique premise too. Like,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Which is always fun.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Cool.
All right, I'm ready for your 4.
All right, I have 4.
Okay.
The first one is The River Has Roots by Amal El-Motar. She is one half of the writing duo that wrote This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is one of my all-time favorites. So I wanted to read it. It's basically a very short novella, like based on a Welsh folk song.
Okay.
And it's like it's like very fairy tale-y.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful writing. Then I have an unusual one for me. I have a mystery. I don't read many mysteries, especially straight mysteries, and this one is a straight mystery. Cocaine Blues by Carrie Greenwood. It's the first book in the Phryne Fisher series, and the reason I picked it up is because they turned that series into like a TV series, the Miss Fisher Murder Mysteries. And I love that show. It's a great show. And so I thought I would try the books, and I read this one, and it was very enjoyable.
Okay.
Then I have Electric Idol by Katie Robert. This is a romance. It's the second in her Dark Olympus series. And it's like a modern take on Greek mythology where instead of them being gods, they are like political roles. So Zeus is like president.
Okay.
And like Demeter is in charge of like farming and food distribution.
Okay. Yeah.
And, what's his name? My brain just shorted out the god of the sea.
Poseidon.
Poseidon is in charge of like shipping and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so this book is there is Katie Roberts' take on the Psyche and Eros story.
Okay.
Then I have a fantasy called The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. And he is a writer that I know more as a horror writer, but he has written this fantasy series. It has great reviews. It's a little dark and grim, but also very funny. It's basically like a fantasy road trip adventure, and the main character is a thief.
Okay. I was just looking at a book by Christopher Buehlman.
Yeah.
Can't remember what it was called, but it has like a red cover and like a black skeleton knight looking thing on the cover.
Yes, that's a reprint book.
Yeah,
it just got reprinted, but yeah, I know the one you mean. I don't remember the title.
Yeah, it's a reprint with a much improved cover.
Yes.
The original cover, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to hear about The River Has Roots because I seem to recall you liking
Amal El-Motar.
Yeah, the previous book quite a bit.
Yeah, This Is How You Lose a Time War is one of my big favorites.
Yeah.
And The River Has Roots is the best book I've read this year, like hands down.
Well, it is late February.
But it might, I think it could stay there like all year. Like,
all right.
It was really, really, really good. This is one that I actually I was trying to find my fourth book for our last recording, and I was one book short. And since this book is not long, I was like, oh, I'll get this one and I'll be able to sit and read it. And when I opened it, I was like, oh no, the way this is written, I need to actually focus on it. So I ended up delaying it and reading it this month.
Yeah. I can't plow through this one.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the thing, this book is beautifully, beautifully written. It is not one of those like hoity-toity beautifully written where you can't understand it. You just need to pay a little attention to it because it is complicated. So it takes place in this town called Thistleford, and it is on like the boundary between the real world and the fairy world, basically.
Okay.
And there is this river called the River Liss, and it flows between the two. And along the river are willows. And there's a family, there are two sisters, Esther and Isabel Hawthorne, the Hawthorns, and they sing to the willows, and it like then when they make stuff, like they weave baskets or they make things out of these willows, they have special properties. It's like all very mystical.
Okay.
And it's because of this river that flows between the two. And so we have these two sisters, and they're particularly, their willows are prized because their harmonies are so beautiful. And one of them has fallen in love with somebody who came, is from the fairy world.
Okay.
And so there's this forbidden love story between the two of them.
No daughter of mine is going to marry a
it's more
fairy worlder.
Once you make that connection, you kind of don't come back.
Oh, I see.
So, but she's also very dedicated to her sister. So there's that push-pull. And she has a suitor who comes from the real world town. And he wants them to unite their land, because he has a bunch of willows on his land, and think of all the money they could make. But those willows don't grow along the lists, and so the wood is not the same. And she's like, it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
But he is very determined that like they're going to get married, and doesn't love that she's in love with someone from Fairy.
Okay.
And the way they describe magic, or the way Amal El-Mohtar has written magic in this, I think is so interesting, because magic she refers to as like grammar.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about how grammar is the essence of transformation, to go from, like if you conjugate a verb, conjugation is like change.
Mm.
It blew my mind a little. And this is why when I was reading it, I was like, I can't just speed through this. I need to take a minute and think about what this means. And I really liked it, but it is an entirely different way of thinking about magic. And it's like tied into the way the river works. And like there's this event that happens that I don't want to get into because the story is very short and I don't want to give anything away.
Sure.
But the way like the river flows backwards for a time, and it flows from, the boundary into Fairy, and then it like reverses and starts going the other way for reasons. And you can't say somebody's name while they're in Fairy, because to name something is to pin it down.
Mm.
I don't know, it's so beautiful. And it's based on a Welsh folk song called, I think, The Two Sisters, or something to do with swans. And if you look it up, you can find it very easily. Lorena McKennett is a folk singer, and she recorded a version of it that you can listen to on YouTube or Spotify or wherever. And it's a little bit different than what Amal El-Mohtar does with the story, but beautiful. And this short story, this novella, it does have the feel of like one of those old world ballads about like, I met someone in the wood, and it like ended up in another land, and magic and love and betrayal. And I loved it. It was so good.
It's got it all.
It's so good. I bought it as an ebook because I knew that when I read this, I got borrowed This Is How You Lose the Time War from the library, and then I ended up buying a physical copy, and then I was like, I kind of want to have it on my phone too, and so I bought a digital copy. So I just bought a digital copy of this one because I was like, I think I'm going to want to keep it. And I think I'm also going to maybe buy a physical copy because there's art in it. Like little like lino cut or wood carving.
Yeah.
Illustrations. And so I think I'm going to buy a physical copy of that too. I am all in on Amal El-Mohtar. She has a book of short stories coming out in a few months, I think, or less than. Actually, I think it's the end of March.
Oh, okay. Very soon.
So yeah, I'm excited to read that too. It was really fulfilling and like exciting. It's one of those books that I got completely absorbed in, and then it's so familiar, but also completely unlike anything that I'd read before, which I find always really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a good mark of, approval when it's like, I'm going to need this in multiple formats. Yeah. I'm going to need this in formats so that I'm never too far away from it.
And I think I'm going to listen to the audiobook as well.
Yeah.
Because there are songs, and I'm hoping that maybe they'll include some like music in with the songs rather than just the lyrics.
Yeah.
And it's so short. Like, I think the audiobook is maybe 2 hours-ish in that neighborhood. It's not long. So
nice.
I'm going to listen to it on audio too.
Okay, so it's like 2 hours. So
it's less.
Pretty
the
short.
Actual novella is less than 100 pages.
Okay.
There is, I think, a short story or an excerpt from something else included in the print book. So it's the book itself, still small, is over 100 pages, but the actual story itself is less.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Like, one of the writers I like a lot, Tom Spanbauer. His books are like, his books are longer, but like, there's something dense about the way they're written. But it's not like when you read a sentence, he's using super fancy language or like trickery.
Yeah, it's not a long sentence where you have to figure out where he's going or where she's going.
You know
it's very
exactly
direct
what
language.
they're saying. Yeah, it's just something about it.
it's like the way she thinks is different. So I have to consider what she like. When she says something in the book, I have to think about it because I'm like, I would never have thought this thought or anything like it, which is exciting.
Yeah, I remember the way Tom Spanbauer would describe that is when he was like in school and was learning about fiction and about poetry. And he was saying like poetry is like every word is important and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, and the way that they were teaching fiction was like each word was holding up a sign that said, don't pay attention to me. The plot's that way, and just keep going and don't worry about it. Like whatever expedient language gets us to the plot, that's what you need.
It's like the coach in a baseball game saying like, go to home, go to home.
Just waving you through. Yeah. And so, whenever a book is not that way, I think sometimes it can lead to that feeling of like, it's not speedy, but it's not complicated either.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to sit in it a little bit.
Yeah. It's very pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really loved it.
It's like taking a bath
too.
versus taking a shower or something. Where it's like, this isn't 100% just about like, okay, I need to get clean so I'm acceptable to be at work.
Yeah.
Where there are other humans.
And I like books that move. Like I don't like a book that I feel like is leading me down a primrose path or like trying to challenge me to like.
Yeah.
And that's not what this is. This book was like, she created a beautiful garden and invited me to wander around in it and spend some time.
Nice.
And it was super enjoyable. And I loved it. And I am excited to read more of her work. This is her debut as a solo author.
Okay.
So before, she co-wrote with, I think, Max Gladstone. This is How You Lose the Time War.
Interesting. After reading that and then this, are you feeling like one or the other was more of the voice of the Time War or not so much?
I don't know that I could say because there's been a bit of a gap since I've read this. This is How You Lose the Time War.
That makes sense.
But it definitely felt vibey, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the vibe, the thing that I loved about This Is How I Lose the Time War was in The River Has Roots.
Okay. So whether or not one was more like a dominant voice in it, the things that you enjoyed about it were very much present.
Very there.
Both books were very successful.
And I love them both very deeply. Like I think about both a lot.
I think it's so interesting when people co-write books.
Yeah.
Because to me, that seems impossible.
Oh, it's so
can't
good.
imagine.
I need, as a person
torture.
who enjoys writing, I need you to read This Is How You Lose the Time War.
Okay. I just think that would be torture for me to like have to do that. Because I think everything someone said, I'd be like, I want to do it this way.
Well, not to get on too far of a tangent, but I think part of the reason it worked in that book is that it's a love story between two people. I'm going to use that word loosely, who are on opposing forces of a world-ending battle.
Okay.
Basically. And so they each take one point of view and they're writing. I don't know if they plotted it beforehand or what they did, but they are both telling the same story, but from a different point of view. And it's like the story gets closer and closer the more you read.
Okay. Like they're going to intersect at some point.
Well, yeah. And just like I can't, I don't have it in me to tell you how it works. I think that's why I'd be interested to hear you talk
what
about
I think about it.
Because you think about writing in a way that I don't. Like I think about stories and the way that stories land with readers. But how the sausage gets made is not part of my thought process really at all.
Yeah. I like to get under the hood.
Yeah.
I'm like, how does this work? How did you do that?
Yeah. And this is one of those books where I think what's under the hood is going to be interesting because the way that the story was told it's not like I've never read a book from two different points of view written by two different authors before.
Sure.
But this story was seamless. It was a thing of beauty. It had wings. I don't know how it works, but I know it flew.
All right.
So yeah.
I like that.
Really good. Really good. A plus.
A plus.
She's a favorite. All right. So you have some interesting ones here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's cheating because I think we already had Run for the Hills on the pod a while ago.
I think you're right, yeah.
But I kind of want to hear your take on it.
Okay. So I'll make it very brief as far as plot synopsis because we already talked about it, I think.
Well, you never know. People may not have heard that episode.
That's true. Basically, the book takes place from the point of view of a lady who's a farmer. And she's got like an organic farm. She runs with her mom. And one day a guy drives up in a PT Cruiser. It's very specific in the book
Very specific.
that it's a PT Cruiser until it's not a PT Cruiser. And then it's called something like an HHR, which I looked up and it's like, it is a PT Cruiser. It's like the same car. And I thought it was so weird because it's like a little joke, I guess, that's in there that's like, well, now they're not in a PT Cruiser. They're in an HHR. And I looked it up and I was like, is that not a PT Cruiser?
I think they make the joke in the text too. They're like, it might as well be a PT Cruiser.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's what they said. And I was like, okay, I guess I assumed it might as well be a PT Cruiser in as much as they didn't like it. But I didn't realize I was like, this car company made the same car twice. It's like the maker of the movie Birdemic. And this maniac made the same movie, exactly the same movie a second time. And he called it Birdemic 2. And I was like, this guy had the gumption to make the same terrible movie twice. And anyway, so shows up in a PT Cruiser. And he's like, I don't know, middle-aged-ish guy. And he reveals that he's her brother and that they have the same father, but different mothers. And that before her father came and met her mother, and, you know, her father raised her until she was like a young girl, and then took off. And this guy reveals that they had the same father and that he did the exact same thing with his family. So met his mom, they had him, you know, the father raised him to a certain point in childhood, and then he took off. When the father lived with him, he was like a mystery writer. And then when the father lived with this lady, he was a organic farmer, you know, and like they started this big organic farm and whatever. And so she's very puzzled by all this because this is the first she knows any of this. And then he reveals there's other kids. And it seems that their father has like at least 4 times moved on, completely started a new life, a new family, and whatever.
A new identity, pretty much.
New identity, like new interests. Like he doesn't even really do. The only seeming like through line is they all kind of agree he was a good dad when he was there. Like he, you know, and also he like shortens their names all the time. You know, that's his thing, I guess. But other than that, it seems like he's a completely different person, you know, and whatever. And they like make these little discoveries about like, wait a minute, did your dad like this? You know, and it's like, no, you know, did your dad eat oysters? And it was like, I don't think my dad ever mentioned oysters, you know. It was like, oh, when he was my dad, his favorite food was like a lobster roll. And it's like, oh, that's weird. Like he never mentioned that. So basically what ends up happening, Mad. That's the main lady's name, short for, I think, Madeline.
Yeah.
Basically, the guy is like, so I rented this car and I'm going cross country to meet all the siblings. You want to come? I was kind of thinking you'd come. And she's like, I don't know, but she decides to go. So the book kind of takes place as they road trip it across the country and they kind of gather up this crew of siblings that gets younger and younger as they move west.
Yep.
And it's kind of headed towards I don't know if I'd call it a confrontation or a meetup or something with their dad is kind of the ultimate final stop that they're planning on. And, you know, along the way, they're kind of all speculating about like, why? What was he thinking? Or like, you know, whatever. And like, they're all very different. The kids are all very different and the dads they had are pretty different.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting book. It's very fun. I would say it's like, I mean, the subject matter, it sounds in some ways heavy, but it's like the writer, Kevin Wilson, he pulls it off in a way. It doesn't feel like icky the way that maybe it's like he was a traveling salesman who had 3 simultaneous families going in different cities,
Right.
like it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, it felt fairly evident to me that there was something else going on with
Yes.
his decision to leave. It wasn't like time for me to start a new family.
Yeah.
It was like there was something else that caused the change.
Yes. Yeah, and it kind of, the dad like calls the moms on their birthdays and stuff like that, but he never talks to the kids. And like, I think it does a really good job of kind of humanizing everyone involved in the story.
Mm.
And like, I mean, I guess my sort of like psychoanalysis of the book is I'm like, it felt to me a little bit like we all hit a point in our lives where we realize our parents were like people.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, they're not like perfect. And sometimes maybe our expectations of them were too high. Sometimes they weren't. Sometimes, our parents are terrible and whatever.
I think what might have been a deal breaker for me with this book is if it had completely excused the behavior.
Yes.
That would have made me mad. It doesn't do that. You're right.
No.
It humanizes him 100%, but it doesn't say like, this is fine behavior that caused no problems. Like,
definitely not. And like, I think that's part of what I enjoyed about it is it felt real in that way.
Yeah.
There were certain parts of the book that didn't feel very real to me because I was like, they felt like, well, this has to happen for the plot to happen,
right.
But overall, like the emotions that come out of it felt real to me, because I was like, I think in a clumsier book, it's like they would confront the dad and then shoot him or something, you know what I mean? Or like they would confront the dad and it would turn out he had some totally valid reason for. I'm thinking like if this was a Nicholas Sparks novel, it would turn out that he had some weird amnesia and he would forget, you know what I mean? Something like that. And it's not at all like that.
Right.
I did enjoy it. And, it's like, it does touch on things for me because like I had a dad who was like pieced out.
Yeah, same.
And, I don't think if I confronted my dad, it would be like this. Me
either.
I don't think I would. But it's like, and like the different kids that end up confronting the dad all kind of have different feelings about it and different levels of.
Well, and as somebody who has not had their experience, but had an experience parallel to it, they felt like their reactions felt legit to me.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this probably wouldn't have been me.
Yeah.
But I get it.
Yeah. It all kind of is understandable.
Yeah.
And it's not like a magical happy ending, but it's also not like they don't decapitate him and then like bury his body in the woods. They don't show up
and deliver a monologue and then slam the door and leave forever.
No, and that's kind of an interesting thing too. Like there are parts of the book where there would be a monologue of some kind, but you don't actually usually hear that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's usually something that happens behind closed doors or something, and you see sort of the aftermath of it.
Yeah.
And I found that very interesting because I think it's like, it sort of highlights the idea and the emotions and like what they were feeling and how it felt to confront him and how maybe that was different than they expected or not. And like how their sort of different personalities deal with it differently. But it kind of makes the emotion more important than the actual content of the words they said.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was very effective. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I mean, I've been a big fan of Kevin Wilson for a long time. He had a short story collection called Tunneling to the Center of the Earth that I really liked.
You want a fun story?
Yeah.
The first time I think we ever worked together, I was a librarian at Centennial Park and you were a librarian at FAR. This is before we worked in the same building. We were at a meeting of librarians for the Reader's Advisory Task Force.
Oh, yeah.
And we were in a meeting and going around the room, and people were talking about a book they'd recently read, and you talked about that book.
Weird.
And I remember it very vividly because I was like, that sounds so interesting. And I never, that was my first book talk I ever heard by you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it was effective, I guess.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great book. And yeah, that's what happens, by the way, at librarian meetings. You know how, if you go to a work meeting, they'll be like, let's
Two
do an
truths and a
icebreaker.
lie.
Yeah. And it's like, well, librarian meetings are great because you can just be like, just talk about a book you read lately for a minute or something.
Or your favorite book. Or,
yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it much easier.
Yep.
I highly suggest that to everybody. Yeah. Just do that. Or just make your work thing talk about, a movie you saw lately.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Something that you like, a TV show, movie, book. What album are you listening to right now?
Yeah. Something like that.
It helps you get to know people in a more authentic way. They're not coming up with some elaborate lie or trying to one-up each other about how many continents they've lived on.
Yeah, and I always feel like it's supposed to be an icebreaker, but it ends up making me feel more guarded than breaking the ice because I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't want to tell a room full of strangers and be like, my dad left when I was 14.
So we'll just tell it to the internet instead.
Yeah. Yeah, and that collection had this story in it called Blowing Up on the Spot, which was about spontaneous human combustion.
Oh.
And also,
did he develop that into the book?
I think so, yeah.
Nice.
And then there were these characters and they worked in a Scrabble factory, which I assume was heavily fictionalized because the way the Scrabble tile factory worked was all the letters just came out of this tube in the ceiling and on the floor, and you just had to collect, I'm on A's for today, and I had to just collect them, which, I was reading it, I was like, I mean, that can't possibly be how that works. But it made for an excellent fictional, story.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah, I'm a big fan of Kevin Wilson's. I think this one's more, this is going to sound negative, and I don't mean it that way. It's more of a mainstream novel than probably some of his short stories and stuff.
A lot of times he has something that's it's like real life, but with something weird happening.
Yeah.
And this one was more grounded.
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me of Amy Bender would write really weird short stories. And then she wrote that book, The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake.
Yeah.
And that was it was less weird.
Yeah.
It's still a little weird. And I still loved it. But, it's less weird. And that kind of seems like his trajectory is similar. So if you like that kind of thing, Run for the Hills is great. And if you liked a book like The Family Fang by Patrick DeWitt, this is probably in that realm. But if you like Wes Anderson movies, family dramas that are kind of funny,
quirky, and
quirky is a good word
odd.
for it. Yeah, I think that this is I don't know. It seems like a crowd pleaser to me, and I think that's a great thing.
I enjoyed it, and it's not incredibly like my normal reading. So.
Yeah, me neither. It's a little outside for me, but it's weird because it's less weird than what I normally.
Truth.
But I did enjoy it, and I would. It's a good one too to recommend to I think if you recommended this to I don't know, your parents, they would probably like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gave his spontaneous combustion book to my aunt for Christmas one year, and she really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
which I was glad about because I was a little is she even going to give it a try when it's there are two kids exploding on the front cover? Not in a weird splattery way, more rays coming out of them.
Yeah, yeah. It's cartoony looking, but I mean it's a much easier recommendation than I'm Mom, read Vermis by Plastiboo. It's a video game guide for a game that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
She'd be like, I don't even have.
That's a very specific audience.
I don't have the context for that.
Yeah.
All right. I want to hear about Black Tongue Thief.
All right.
By Christopher Buehlman.
Yes.
Buehlman.
So this is one of your big open fantasy worlds, but I will say it feels slightly different than like your normal high fantasy kind of Lord of the Rings fantasy world.
That's where I always begin with like fantasy. I'm always like, okay, Lord of the Rings, I'll just put in the center.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where does this in relation?
I would say it is a step grittier, darker. This is a world that has just come off of a series of wars with goblins that they call biters.
Okay.
Like you lose limbs and that kind of thing.
Oh,
and it's been like they released a virus or I think it was a virus. They released some sort of contagion that basically ended horses. So like there are a few horses that survived, but they are going to be like the last horses. There are no more horses. So whenever someone sees one, it's like this religious experience almost. And like,
so like children of men, but horses of men.
Horses
Horse
and
children of men.
also like just a way of life, because it's like the first Goblin War, they sent all of the men to fight. And so many of them died that the second Goblin War was called the Daughters' War. And they sent all of the women. So it's like their entire previous way of life is fundamentally altered.
Okay.
Just because it had to.
I see. It's like Russia post-World War II.
Yeah.
Where they're like
kinda.
Such a huge percentage of the people are dead that it's just different now.
It's just, yeah. And so the main character, his name is Kinch, and he is a guild thief, so which means that he has guild training. It also means that he has guild obligations. So when you are a guild thief and you don't pay them back for your education, or you become like, you go into debt, you haven't paid them on time, they put tattoos on your cheek that can only really be seen well in candlelight.
Okay.
So he is a little bit in debt. He is not defaulted. He's not horribly in debt, but he's behind.
I love that he has thief school student loans.
He does. They're
like,
exactly student loans.
Have been cursing us.
They're 100% student loans.
Even in this fantasy world, there's no escape.
Yep. And because he is behind in his student loans, he has a tattoo on his cheek of an open hand.
Okay.
Which basically means that if he goes into a pub and someone sees, the first person to see this open hand can slap him across the face.
Oh, man.
Get a free beer for it on the guild. And he is not allowed to talk to them until they say something.
Okay.
So like there are very strict rules about how he has to behave. And then if you get horribly, horribly in debt, then it goes from an open hand to a closed hand, which I'm pretty sure means you get punched in the face.
Okay.
For similar, like some sort of similar transaction. And then I think there's a third one that means basically they've washed their hands of you and you can do what you like with this thief because they have gotten everything they think they're going to get out of you.
Okay.
I don't
They consider you a lost cause.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had like I don't have a lot of details about how that would work, but it feels pretty like you don't want to end up there.
I mean, Nelnet was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was worse. Maybe I could have taken a few slaps to the face and
I don't he doesn't seem to love the slaps.
Yeah. I think the extra bonus of like they slap you in the face and then get a free beer for doing it is like, oof.
Little salt in the wound.
I would just be like, well, I guess my drinking days are over. I'm never going to anywhere that has beer again.
Yeah. So he is he's in debt and trying to earn money to like pay it back because like he's not so far gone that he doesn't think he can pay off his debts. And he is in a town with a guild and he gets arrested for he picks a pocket, but that's not why. Something I think I remember they're going to shoot a cat. And he like steps in front of it and is like, that's my cat, and like starts a fight and ends up arrested for it. And it's this like little blind skinny cat. And he was like, don't kill the cat. So
Guys,
which makes me like him. You know, I'm like, yeah, save the cat.
Save the cat, yeah.
So he ends up in prison and it turns out it's a guild prison and like there are ways that you can get out. Like you can basically unscrew the bars and like climb out through the window. Which he didn't know at the time, but figures out. And so while he's there, his cellmate, who it turns out is like a higher ranked thief from the guild, says, there's this person that you met on the road and you got into a fight with and she kicked your butt, basically. We want you to find her and go with her to this other town, and there's a reason why, but don't tell her that. Tell her you're going to like steal something specific for the guild. And you have 50 days.
Okay.
And so it starts out as this like road trip where he's with her. She is from a different country in the land, it feels to me like she would be from Spain and he is from like, I don't know, France or England. So,
okay.
A little bit different. She has a battle corvid, which is basically a raven the size of a deer. And it will mess you up.
Yeah.
And
I feel like the only thing that's prevented me from being killed by like a crow in my lifetime is that they're not that big. I mean, they're big for a bird.
Big. And if you really ticked one off and like got a whole murder on you, I think you'd be in trouble.
Yeah, but if I saw like a crow or a raven or something the size of like a largish dog,
one that you
I'd
could
be
ride.
Like, oh my God, no.
Oh, this one is like
this is my nightmare.
It's like it sounds like it's as tall or potentially taller than a person
No,
based on the descriptions.
That's a hard no for me.
And in case you're wondering, you do get to see it in battle, which is pretty exciting. So they're on this road trip. They're headed to this place that Kinch knows is being invaded by like giants, basically. And it's dangerous and bad situation all around. And they're trying to get there as quickly as possible. I don't think anyone else knows except for him at that moment that that's what they're heading into. Along the way, they meet like a witch in a tower who's super foul. She's called Dead Legs because it turns out that she has no legs, probably eaten by goblins. And she takes corpses' legs and animates them until they rot. And that's why she's called Dead Legs.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And she has an apprentice witch who ends up going with them on their road trip. And the blind cat goes with him. There's something about this cat. He's like, this cat feels like it's a magical cat in some way. Because when he talks to the cat, he gets a sense that like they have an understanding. And also the cat keeps finding him somehow.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they're on this road trip. They have like little adventures and misadventures along the way. And it's a bit grim, can be a bit bloody, like the Dead Legs thing. If you don't like, it's also it's funny, but in a very irreverent way. So I would say if you have a sense of humor where if somebody tells like a slightly off-color joke, that's going to like, you're not really into that. This may not be the book for you.
Okay.
But if you like a slightly like potentially in poor taste joke, I would say this is a good option.
All right.
So yeah, it's a grim fantasy adventure.
Okay.
And fun, like super compelling. I don't remember if there's a sequel, but I know that there is another connected book called The Daughter's War that I'm pretty sure is a prequel about the war that just
second
ended.
Goblin War. That sounds awesome.
It's great.
Yeah, I was pretty in, and then I was very sold by like she reanimates corpse legs, and then those rot away, and so she has to find a new pair of corpse legs.
Yep.
I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, she has a servant made out of gourds. So like when she's done with him, he just like collapses into a pile of like pumpkins and squashes. And he has this little cart and he goes and collects. And I don't know if he's killing people or just finding dead people, but he has like this cart and they see him on the road before they get to her tower. And he's got a cart full of like farm implements that look like they're in terrible condition. And then when he shows up later at the tower, all of the farm implements turn into bodies and he saws the legs off of the bodies and then turns into a pile of gourds.
Wow.
Like it's a weird book.
Yeah.
But I don't know, you never know what's going to happen and that makes for an exciting reading time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I talked about Fool Night and Run for the Hills. I didn't talk about Vermis by Plastiboo. So very quickly,
how to talk about something like this.
Yeah, it's very difficult to describe, but if you played older video games, like, okay, if you had an old NES game and you opened the instruction manual, like Legend of Zelda, it would have a bunch of stuff in it that kind of fills in the backstory and fills in the world and is also kind of like, yeah, you know, when you see this like weird looking pile of pixels, here's what that is supposed to be. You know, like it was kind of, I would call like an imagination aid that kind of helps you understand like, what am I looking at? But also like, what is this larger world?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit like that. It also kind of reminded me of if you ever played like a King's Quest game.
Yeah. Those
instruction booklets would usually have like a bunch of backstory and a bunch of things that fill everything in that help you understand it. They would always have like something in the instruction booklet that you had to do in the game. I remember it was King's Quest 6 and you're like climbing this tower, and it was in order to climb the tower, you would have to get these clues from the instruction booklet. That was like ancient anti-piracy measure. Because it was like, well, maybe someone has this game that they copied on a floppy disk from someone else, but they don't have the booklet, so they can't finish the game, which was diabolical in that game because it's not like super far into the game, but you probably have played it a couple hours, and then you hit a point. Yeah, and it's like it's impossible to finish without the manual. Anyway, it kind of felt a little like one of those where it fills in a lot of the story. But so it's a game that reminds me of, if people have played like a Dark Souls type game, it's like a medieval setting and you're kind of a knight going on a quest, basically. And so you have to travel through these different environments, you know, like there's like a forest and all the trees they're called like flute trees or something because they have these holes in them. So when the wind blows through, it makes like when you blow across the top of a bottle kind of sound. And it's like maddening after a while. Or, you know, there's like a swamp and there's different whatever. And so it's kind of like, and it's all written in second person. So you do this, you do that. And it kind of tells you like, here are all the characters you'll see in this world, you know, and here's like the environments and so on. And then it's kind of telling you how to get through different encounters you have in this game. But none of this exists. And it kind of ends up feeling it's like reading a fantasy or like a dungeon crawler type story.
Okay.
But it doesn't fill everything in. Like when there's a battle, like you're fighting what in the game would be a boss character, it doesn't tell you like, oh, you know, you did this, then they did this, then they did that. It kind of tells you like, here's how it'll start. Here's kind of what the character will say. Here are some tips for how to get through it. And then you go to the next page and it's like, after that, here's what you do after that, you know? And so it felt to me a little bit like someone was like, wanted to tell this fantasy story. And they'd done a lot of the world building and stuff, but they just weren't interested in the like moment to moment action. And they were like, I just want to skip all the parts that are boring. I don't want to have to talk about this guy eating dinner. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to have little small talk encounters with people. Like, I don't want to do that. So the character is very much a cipher for the player or the reader in this case, and like a blank. It's just a very interesting way to tell a story.
Did it work?
Yes. Huh. For me, it did. Yeah. And like, I'll say the caveat to that is that I'm kind of being familiar with that kind of game and that kind of manual.
Right.
It might work better for me than for someone who's never done any of that.
Right.
But I also kind of can't imagine a lot of people reading it who are like,
not gamers.
I'm completely disinterested in, you know, all that stuff.
Well,
but
how
I'll
would they
pick
even
up this
find
book.
it?
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I found it weirdly effective. Like, and it was interesting. It was something very unique that I've never read anything that functions that way before. So it was kind of like I always like when I read a book and I'm like, this is like a new thing in books that I've never experienced before. So it was cool. It was interesting. It was a good ride. Like, it was, worth it. I don't know if it was worth waiting, 10 weeks for.
Yeah.
But it was good. The other one was Back to the Future by Ryan North, which is he goes through the Back to the Future novelization chapter by chapter and basically just talks about it. It was originally a Tumblr blog, probably in like 2012 or something like that, when Tumblr was like a big thing. Ryan North, people might know, he's done a lot of writing for comics in more recent years. And originally he did something called Dinosaur Comics, which was like a daily web comic strip. And it was basically the same panels of dinosaurs like every time. And he would have different text.
Okay.
It's funny. It's fun. It's like a good one to read as far as like, if you need if you're in a stage of your life where you're in a lot of waiting rooms and you're like, I need something, but it's got to have short sections that I can read in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Perfect for that. And it's funny. It's weird the differences between the movie and the novelization. I gather this happens a lot because a lot of times the person writing the novelization gets like an early script, but doesn't get like the final script for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of are going off of stuff that, and like sometimes actors will add things to stuff or like some details will change or they'll be like, oh, we're out of money to do that. So like whatever. I think there was something with Back to the Future that originally it was like going to be nuclear powered, but then there was some reason they decided not to do that. There's something about the power source for the DeLorean. And then they were like, oh, maybe it was like there was like a meltdown or something.
Okay.
And they were like, maybe let's not have that in our fun movie.
Right.
Let's just have lightning.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, it's fun. It's interesting. If you're like a big Back to the Future fan, it's pretty funny.
I was going to say, it sounds like something that a super fan would really want to read.
Yeah. And it's a little bit like if you're ever curious about like the difference between a novelization and the movie and how those turn out, it's a good way to experience that. Kind of like how sometimes I'll recommend if someone's going to watch a movie that I'm like, it's not great. If you watch like a Mystery Science Theater version of it instead, or you watch a version with a commentary track, it's more tolerable.
Right.
Like if you're going to watch Deathstalker, I'm like, watch the Mystery Science Theater version. You'll get everything that you were meant to get from that movie and more.
Right.
And it needs a little more.
All right.
So yeah, cool. Those are my books.
All right. Well, I talked about The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar and The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. I also read Cocaine Blues by Carrie Greenwood, which is the first Phryne Fisher book. This is a long series of mysteries kind of set in the years after World War I. So like flapper times, where you have like the bobbed hair and the drop-waisted skirts with fringe and jazz and gin and cars are new and driving fast and like all that stuff. And Phryne Fisher is, she's like one of the first new woman kind of characters. So she after World War I, a bunch of people died. And so her family, which was way down on the list of people in line for like her family's fortune, they all died. And so very unexpectedly, her family has come into money. So she was in England, like having parties, doing her thing, and then decided somebody had a relative in Australia who they were concerned about and asked her if she would be willing to look into it. And so she goes to Melbourne and starts looking into it. And there's like a mystery involving, there's this woman in a marriage and she looks very poorly and starts to feel like maybe she's being poisoned. And that turns into like there's some sort of potentially drug trade running through like a sauna, like a health spa in town. And she starts looking into all of this along with a local police constable, Jack Robinson, who is in the show a lot. I can't say how closely the show follows the series of books. I've heard in the show there's a lot of tension between Phryne and Jack, and I don't think that that's the case in the books, or at least I've been told that that's not the case. The books still have all of the like flash and humor. They're very fast moving. I am not a person who gets into mysteries for the mystery. Like,
Right.
I don't need to figure out who did it.
Yeah.
I'm only marginally interested.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
Like when I read like Longmire books,
Right.
and I'm like, I don't really care that much about. I just want to see, Walt being Walt.
Exactly.
Like,
And that's why I'm in these books, is for Phryne. She's super fun. I also really like her lady's maid Dot, who is not a new woman, but is like in the sphere of one now. And it's fun watching her as like a foil, because she's kind of both amazed and kind of like fascinated, but a little bit like shocked at the behavior. Yeah. It makes it fun. The Cocaine Blues is basically the first episode of the TV show. It follows fairly closely. You get Bert and Cess, and they're fun, and you get, Dr. Macmillan, and she's fun. They're all there. If you've seen the show, this is a really fun, fast read that has the same vibes as the show. If you like the mystery, if you like a mystery, if you like these books, and you haven't seen the show, you should. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. And I am not a mystery girl. So that, I think, should say something, that I have watched this series more than once.
Okay.
And so I had the first book on my Kindle. I'm doing a thing this year where I'm calling like a read down, where I'm trying to focus on books that I own, either physically or digitally, or books that are already on my TBR as much as possible.
Not adding.
Yeah. And I'm like not being super strict about it.
Sure.
Alona Andrews has a new book coming out. I'm not going to deny myself that, I'm still going to read it. But I'm trying to focus on some stuff that I've been intending to read.
Yep.
So and this was on there. And so I was like, now feels like a good time. I feel like I could read this, and I enjoyed it. And I put the next book on my TBR. So I intend on, at least for now, continuing and seeing how they are.
Nice.
Super fun. And then I have Electric Idol by Katie Robert. This is the second Dark Olympus book. The first one was the Hades Persephone story. This one is Psyche and Eros. For anybody who doesn't know the mythology, in the original story, Eros is the son of Aphrodite, and he falls in love with Psyche. Aphrodite is opposed to the match, so he kind of takes her away and hides her away. And in the myth, she's not supposed to look at him because she would immediately know who he was. He has wings, like it's fairly obvious. And when she does, everything is like ruined. It's a whole like tragic love story, and it is like loosely based on this. So Psyche is Persephone's sister in this world, and she's Demeter's daughter. Demeter has been elected as Demeter, like, because it's a title. She's in charge of like the food supply and farming for the realm. There are only 3 positions that are inherited, and that's Zeus and Hades, and I forget the other one.
Okay.
There's another one. It doesn't really matter. Everyone else kind of has to earn their place.
Okay.
And they get like elected in, and there's a lot of infighting and political machinations behind the scenes. And Demeter and Aphrodite hate each other. And in this world, Psyche is popular on social media, and Demeter is kind of positioning her to potentially marry Zeus and become Hera, because that's, again, like Hera would be
that's
the
how
title.
That works.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Aphrodite is like known as the matchmaker. She's the goddess of love, obviously, in the myths. So she's like the matchmaker. She's trying to set up Zeus in one of her, like, for her benefit, doesn't like the, upstart Psyche. And so her son Eros is like her private assassin. And so she tells Eros, when they have a picture taken together and it looks like something that it's not, and it like sets the social media world ablaze. Everyone's like, is Eros dating Psyche and all of this stuff? And so Aphrodite's like, give me her heart. Like, I want her dead, basically.
Okay.
And so he goes to do it and then finds that he just doesn't want to. And so he's like, okay, so what we're going to do instead is we're going to get married. And then I don't think that she's not going to be happy, but I don't think that she'll make me kill you.
Okay.
And like we'll have other fallout, but we'll navigate it and at least you'll be alive.
It's like,
right.
Well, okay, given those options,
right.
I suppose.
And so it's like so they have to pretend in public to be very much in love while this is very much a political move to
Sure.
like save her life. And so it's a romance. It's like a dark romance. If you've been interested in dipping a toe into dark romance, but you're nervous about what that could mean, I would say that this is the shallower end of dark romance.
Okay.
So he's an assassin. He's done bad things. It's obviously your morally gray hero, but he is not like there are some dark romances out there that have like heroes torturing and dismembering people on the reg. And like it's continuing on, it's like bad guys. This is just like he's quote unquote a bad guy. So I think you could dip your toes into the Dark Olympus series, get a sense for some darkness in your romance without having to worry about, someone who will kill anyone who is not the heroine without any moral qualms.
Right. Okay.
So,
Dim romance.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
that's
like
not the right word.
And people call it like
Twilight. No, that's also.
People talk about it being very explicit as well, like more on the erotic romance side. I didn't find it to be all that explicit, but I've read a lot in the genre, so I'm difficult to shock. I've read a lot of what there is. So just keep in mind that it is very open door. They use all the words for all the parts and talk about where they go.
Okay.
So if you don't want to hear that, this is not the book for you. But if you like a spicy romance and you want to experiment with dark without, being locked in a room with no light,
right,
this is a good option. This series, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
like it.
So that's what I've got.
Boom.
4 books plus.
All right, we did it.
Yay!
So that's another 8 books.
Yep.
And we did a joke.
Yep.
And then we end with the opposite of a joke, which is a library fact.
Yes.
Which I decided is the opposite of a joke for some reason.
I enjoy it, for one.
And I think the library fact that I'm going to share is that I've been working on the database pages of our website. And
it's more exciting than it sounds.
It will be. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope it'll make it a lot more useful.
There's good stuff on that page that people don't find.
There is a lot of stuff on that page that's actually really interesting. And like as I was going, I had to go through them all one by one. And I tightened up the descriptions of a lot of them because a lot of the descriptions on there it sounded like a description that you get from the database company to be like, with over 10,000 titles of blah, 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 and whatever. And I'm like, I don't think this is what people need to know.
Right.
To know, like, people need to know, what is this for?
Right.
What does this do?
Why would I use it?
Yeah. Anyway, so part of rearranging and doing some things was I tried to look up some stats on like what the most used ones were. Because I'm trying to put a top 5 on the top of the page to make it more convenient. Because if people are using something like every day, it might as well be up there. And so I believe our most used database. Do you want to guess?
I would guess it's either going to be like an academic search premiere or like the car repair one.
Academic search premiere was very high on the list. But the most used, I believe, is Ancestry.
Oh, that makes sense.
Which is interesting because that only works in the library. So I've left it off the top 5 on the list because I figure if you're in the library, you've already made the schlep over here, so you're whatever. But I just wanted to tell people about it too because I don't know if everyone knows that you have access to Ancestry.
Yeah.
And you have it as long as you're in the library. And I believe that includes like if you bring a laptop or whatever.
Yeah, I think that it counts because you're on a library ISP address.
Yeah, so you can bring in your laptop and do your genealogy work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
with no additional cost.
No cost.
You just have to go through the library website. You can't just go to ancestry.com.
Correct. You have to go to mylibrary.us/learn, or you can go to mylibrary.us and click the thing that says learn.
Right.
And then you'll be in the database list and you pick out Ancestry and you'll log in through there.
Yes.
and then you have free access to it. So if you're paying for access to it, consider if you're willing to make
in
the
this
trip
time
to
of
the
rising
library.
costs.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and I don't even know what a subscription to that costs these days.
Yeah, I don't either.
But anyway, a lot of people are using it, so
great.
Get on the train.
So what was our number one that you did include?
I pushed everything up. So the ones that are in the top 5, we have 2 different ways to access the Greeley Tribune.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little tough because the stats for those are different.
Yeah.
But so we had to do some guesswork.
Yeah.
But so I put those in there. Weiss financial ratings.
Huh.
So I think that's for people who do stonks and so on.
Your investor trickses.
Yes. LinkedIn Learning was way up there.
Oh, okay.
And then I think what I put in place was Novelist.
Oh, I love that one.
Novelist Plus.
I use that one personally.
I use that a lot
That's
too.
for your people who love a book.
Yes. It's actually really great. Like if you're a user of something like Goodreads or Storygraph or something like that, check out Novelist. Like it doesn't have the same social components, but like if you're looking for other books and you want to find books similar to ones you've liked in the past and stuff like that, it gives you so many options. It's so much better than like
Goodreads, other people read lists.
Yeah, like I was trying to find, it has a lot of search options that I love. Like you can search for things like page length.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm like, well, I want to read a bunch of spooky books around October, but I want to find a bunch of short ones so I can read several different ones. You can be like, no longer than 200 pages, and then find a whole list of that. And, there's lots of options like that. And the other good thing about it, and I've kind of subtly decided to make this my year in library marketing of like going after Amazon a little bit and being like, you're not so great. You know?
We do the same things and we do it better because we're actual thinking humans.
Yeah, and I think what makes Novelist Plus better than getting book recommendations from something like Amazon is it has no relationship to your purchase history.
Yeah.
And it has no commercial element to it. So there's no advertisement.
You buy one birthday gift on Amazon and your recommendations are messed up for months.
Yeah, a little known piece of reading history is like originally, before Amazon acquired Goodreads, the Goodreads recommendation engine was better than Amazon's. And the reason it was better was because it wasn't based on your purchases or things that you had looked at. It was based exclusively on your ratings.
Yeah.
So that meant it was better dialed into your taste than if you had bought something and didn't like it. It would still Amazon treated those the same. Goodreads did not. But then Amazon bought Goodreads and now it doesn't work that way anymore. But Novelist is very good for finding books, and I think it's very sometimes it's just nice to look at something and not have to like do the mental gymnastics of being like, wait, is this an ad? Is this a sponsored ad book that it just thinks is barely close enough to recommend to this other book? Or is this like a legitimate whatever?
Well, and Novelist has every book is tagged with like these words that will give you a sense of like, they immediately tell you if you're interested because it'll say like fast paced or funny or, heartwarming or whatever. And you can be like, oh, heartwarming. Yes. And you can even click on heartwarming and it'll bring up a whole list of heartwarming books.
Yep. Yeah. And there'll be lots of great lists too. Like if you like something, it'll say like, oh, that book appears on these other lists. And you're like, oh, okay. Like I can look at those or whatever. And it's not like, people make lists on Goodreads and stuff, but it's like books with a white cover. And you're like, oh, great.
Books that our book club is reading.
Yeah. And you're just like, okay. Wonderful.
Books with no woman's face on them. Like just, neck down.
All right.
Yeah, that's not super useful. And they also do all ages and they do nonfiction.
Yes. And there's Novelist Plus and then there's Novelist K through 8. But I think you can use,
K through 8 is in Plus.
But yeah.
It's just if you wanted to eliminate adult, you could go to the K through 8.
Yeah. I mean, if you did K through 8, I think you'd be, depending on your family's things or whatever, but that would be a probably safer one to just turn your kid loose on and let them explore that. And it does have things too, like I think K through 8 has, you can search by Lexile.
Yep.
If you need to do that, or grade levels, things like that. So you can really
accelerated reader.
Yep. It's got all that stuff.
Yep.
It's really nice. It's really good. And like, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but like you could spend a lot worse, like a weekend evening filling a to-read list by just kind of surfing Novelist a little bit. Like just get in there and look up some stuff that you've liked before and then see what else is out there.
Start going down the rabbit hole. Just click things and see where you end up.
It's really amazing. It's like really great.
And there's a little button on every book that says like check your library or check catalog. And you can click that and it'll open the library catalog and tell you whether or not you can get it directly from us.
Yep.
Or you can always then interlibrary loan or prospector or any of those things too.
Yeah, and I find like there's so much in Prospector, and if you use Prospector, it's like interlibrary loan, but it's way faster and it's super easy, and you just check it out like a normal book.
Yep.
It's it's not a big deal. So yeah, I recommend it highly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yay!
All right, thanks everybody for listening. Also, ReadCon coming up in April.
Oh, yeah.
Go to mylibrary.us/ReadCon and get your tickets.
Yep.
Because they're not going that fast yet, but it's like 2 months away still.
Right.
So, but they will be going fast.
Right.
They are going.
And if you're a bookish person, you want to be there. So
it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's really great. You'll find your people there.
Yep.
It's where you want to be. All right. See you next time.
Happy reading.